Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing our deep dive into this Miami Hurricanes football program heading into spring practice, fall camp, the 2024 season. We took a look at the offensive line, the defensive line. Now we're taking a look at the offensive skill positions, obviously headlined by Cam Ward coming in through the transfer portal, but position groups that if you're a Miami Hurricanes fan, we have a lot of names to talk about as potential breakout candidates in this 2024 year, also returning a ton of production as well. I think Cam Ward is going to do a great job bringing out the best of all the talent that is going to be around him. Really excited to get into this one. I got a ton of names that I want to buzz by, talk about. Going to try to keep it short, but we got a lot of names to work through. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. And as always, a huge shout out to the Miami Hurricane fans, a program that whether it's the transfer portal, whether it's the high school recruiting trail, you guys continue to show a ton of love to the boys. Cannot thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. More importantly, the best part about these deep dives, learning from you guys, talking ball with you guys in the comment section. Would love to hear your takes in the comment section. We'll chop it up there. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And I want to start with kind of talking about what we saw from this offense in 2023. And I want to start at the quarterback position and kind of introduce why I'm most excited about Cam Ward coming into this Miami Hurricanes team. And the one narrative that we've talked about is Cam Ward and the ceiling that he has as a quarterback. We've seen really good play from Cam Ward the first 2 years at Washington State. I don't even know if he scratched the surface in terms of what he can be as a quarterback at the college football level. I think that's a massive reason why he decides to come back to college football. And I think this is by far going to be the most talent that he's going to have around him, right? You go back to the film at Washington State, not a very good offensive line. Some solid wide receivers, but not elite wide receivers. This offense that Cam Ward's getting inserted to has a ton of talent, way more talent than he had around him at Washington State. So I think, one, that is what you're most excited about. But for me, you take a look at what really lacked for the Miami Hurricanes, specifically at the quarterback position in 2023. I think it was the ability to improvise, right? You turn on the film of Tyler Van Dyke in 2023, there are glimpses when he's taking that three-step drop, finding someone open and delivering some really nice footballs. You can't argue the arm talent for Tyler Van Dyke is certainly there, but I think his biggest Achilles heel and really the problem I saw with this Miami Hurricanes offense in 2023 was his lack of ability to improvise. If his first read wasn't there and he has to try to extend the play, make something out of nothing, he really couldn't do that. Not a phenomenal athlete extending plays. You'd often see him kind of panic, make some bad decisions. You look at Cam Ward and what he's going to bring to this offense. Cam Ward was consistently improvising in that Washington State offense. One, his offensive line didn't do a great job of protecting him. Two, Cam Ward, the best way to describe it is he kind of has that it factor. Phenomenal athlete extending plays, manipulating pockets, stuff that you really didn't see Tyler Van Dyke do at a high level. And I think that really led to kind of the downfall of this Miami Hurricanes offense in 2023. And you look at the best quarterbacks, whether it's at the NFL level, whether it's at the college football level, right? Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy. You look at the NFL, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all quarterbacks that have the ability to extend plays, improvise, give their wide receivers more chance to get open. Cam Ward brings that to this Miami Hurricanes offense. I think that's personally probably what I'm most excited about heading into 2024 as a quarterback that kind of has that it factor, that playmaking ability that, quite frankly, Tyler Van Dyke really just lacked in 2024. So Cam Ward, this is kind of a no-brainer. He's obviously a massive upgrade from what Miami had the last season in 2023 at quarterback. But the improvisation, I think that's a word, is certainly something that I think a lot of Miami fans are really looking forward to in 2024. And now this is probably the more exciting part. You have a guy like Ja'Cory Brown who you talk about being wired the right way. Staying with this program, even though they're bringing in a guy like Cam Ward, really excited to see him get another year of development. And you look towards that 2025 season, you might have your starting quarterback to start 2025. Now you start taking a look at the talent that is going to be around the quarterback position. I want to start in that wide receiver room, and I want to highlight the wide receiver one in this Miami Hurricanes offense, and that is Xavier Restrepo. And why I want to highlight him is you look across the Power 5 landscape. A lot of offenses don't have that guy. And what I mean by that, guy, is when it's 3rd and 6 and you need a wide receiver to create separation and make a play and extend a drive, Xavier Restrepo was that guy. He was Tyler Van Dyke's guy. I think he certainly fits what Cam Ward wants to do in terms of getting the ball out quick, on time, accurately. You look at this Miami Hurricanes offense, specifically that wide receiver position, it is full with talent that's kind of waiting to break out. But you have a guy in Xavier Restrepo who, I mean, doesn't get enough credit for being one of the best wide receivers in the country because he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest. But when you look at wide receivers, what's the number one thing you're looking for? The ability to separate. I mean, the game of football is a separation game, and Xavier Restrepo is one of the cleanest route runners in man coverage, just separates from defensive backs, but more importantly, he just understands the position. When he sees zone coverage, he knows how to find the soft spot. He knows how to present himself to the quarterback. Having a guy like Xavier Restrepo for Cam Ward, you talk about having that quarterback wide receiver battery that a lot of top college football programs have. You look at Jaden Daniels and a guy like Malik Neighbors. You go back to Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison. I think you're going to have that with Cam Ward and Xavier Restrepo. Now, the next couple of guys I want to talk about, one, Jacoby George, a guy that just want to see a little bit more consistency from. And I want to see Miami kind of make a concerted effort to get the football into his hands quickly, often, and let him operate in space. You look at Jacoby George, and what I think is his best asset is what he can do after the catch. Had 800 receiving yards for Miami last year. Over 500 of those came after the catch. This is a guy that can really provide a ton of juice in space with the football in his hands. And I think Shannon Dawson's looking at a guy like Jacoby George and said, hey, we got to get the football to him in space and let him go operate with the football in his hands. A couple other guys I want to shout out. One, Isaiah Horton, just a big body that can work vertically. You talk about maybe replacing a guy like Colby Young. I think Isaiah Horton really could be that guy. But I think what excites me the most about these wide receivers is some of the young talent that's coming in. And it is hard to find wide receivers that are going to play early as true freshmen. A couple guys I want to shout out, starting with JoJo Trader. And again, very similar conversation that you have with Xavier Restrepo, but I would argue that JoJo Trader maybe has a little bit more upside in terms of his athleticism and kind of overall juice, right? JoJo Trader is an elite separator. This is a guy that's a polished route runner, has played a lot of football at the high school level, and is kind of physically developed to play early. So if you're asking me what true freshman is going to come in and provide a lot of juice for this Miami Hurricanes team as a true freshman, JoJo Trader, but you have guys like Nikar and Chance Robinson that probably are going to be earning some playing time as well. You throw in a guy like Ray Joseph going into year two. You got a guy like Washington. I mean, this is one of the more underrated receiver rooms I think that you see in all of college football. And I know a lot of Miami fans have been asking for maybe adding another wide receiver in the transfer portal. I think Mario Cristobal in this coaching staff's approach to this is going to be, let's see what we have in spring practice, right? You have a guy like Ray Joseph going into year two. Nikar, JoJo Trader, Chance Robinson, all guys that could produce a year one for the Miami Hurricanes. Let's see what we have with these young wide receivers before we go looking in the transfer portal for another wide receiver. And if after spring practice you feel like, okay, maybe some of these guys aren't going to be ready, then maybe you see Miami go after a wide receiver in the portal. But right now you have a ton of young talent that you want to see what you have from them. Now, looking at the tight end room, this is probably the position you want to see the biggest step in from the Miami Hurricanes, right? And you look at Cam Ward and what he wants to do. He wants to work the middle of the field, and having a big body that can give you a good catch radius over the middle of the field is going to be big. Elijah Arroyo, hopefully getting healthy. You didn't really see the full Elijah Arroyo in 2023. My pick is Riley Williams going into year two, played a lot as a true freshman. And then you have a guy like Cam McCormick, who everyone likes to dunk on, coming back for his 8th, 9th season of college football. Cam McCormick is not going to be a guy that is necessarily the biggest receiving threat. But when you turn on the film, I mean, this is a dude that is a hammer in the run game. And make no mistake about it, we just spent 8 minutes talking about the quarterback play and the wide receiver play. Mario Cristobal wants to run physically behind a phenomenal offensive line with a loaded running back room. And a guy like Cam McCormick allows you to run the football extremely well. I have probably for my money, one of the best blocking tight ends that you see in all of college football. So you have some guys like Riley Williams that maybe could give you some juice as a receiver, but Cam McCormick, don't overlook him in terms of what he can do blocking up in this run game. And then you look at this running back room. And again, we said we have a lot of names to go over. I mean, this running back room is probably one of the deepest and most loaded groups in all of college football. And the first guy I want to shout out is the true freshman Mark Fletcher, a guy that you take a look at the film, and I watched some cut-ups of his carries in 2023. One, I mean, playing banged up a decent amount of that season, extremely impressive, right? Ran for over 500 yards. 400 of those yards came after contact. You talk about a true freshman that was imposing his will at the college football level in his first year. That was Mark Fletcher, forced 33 missed tackles, averaged 5 yards per carry. And again, that was him as a true freshman battling through injuries. You get a healthy Mark Fletcher heading into year 2. I really do think he's that running back one for the Miami Hurricanes heading into that 2024 year. But you call him the running back one. You're going to see a lot of running backs. So you're going to run the football a lot. You want to keep these running backs fresh. A guy like Henry Parrish, a little bit more of a change of pace guy. Like Mark Fletcher, a big bruising running back that wants to get downhill. Henry Parrish has some absolute burners. Then you have a guy like a Jay Allen, who I think is one of the more well-rounded running backs in this room. You have a guy like Chris Johnson. You talk about burners. Trevante Citizen, I know a lot of Miami Hurricane fans are excited about maybe what he can do in 2024 after battling some injuries. And you have a true freshman in Jordan Lyle, who On3 just updated the rankings and has him as the number 1 running back in the in the country in that 2024 class. You talk about a loaded running back room. The thing that I kind of want to highlight here, and I don't even know if we talked about all the running backs that are in this room that could be playing for the Hurricanes, but 2 things that stand out. One, Mario Cristobal, you want to keep these running backs fresh, right? The Miami Hurricanes want to win 12-plus games. You want to go make an ACC championship game. You want to go make a run in the college football playoffs. And if you want to do that, you have to be able to keep your guys fresh through the duration of a season. And in this running back room, I don't think they're going to have a problem keeping guys fresh because it is deep and they trust a lot of guys with the football in their hands. And the second thing that really stands out is you got a very diverse amount of skill set in that running back room, right? Mark Fletcher, bruiser, downhill guy. Henry Parrish, a little bit more of a spacey guy. If you want to run outside the tackle, you want to get kind of that game, or I guess let the running backs work out of the backfield as pass catchers. A guy like Henry Parrish can do that. You have a Jay Allen, who is just kind of an all-around really solid back. You have Chris Johnson, who might be one of the fastest players on the football field for the Hurricanes. A ton of different skill sets and a ton of different things to do in that running back room as well. You take a look at the offensive skill heading into 2024. I thought it was a really talented team last year that just was held back a little bit because of Tyler Van Dyke and kind of how that offense just really went into a shell during the second half of that season. You want to get back to seeing what that offense looked like against Texas A&M, where you're spreading teams out, you're attacking them in a multitude of different ways. Cam Ward, it goes through Cam Ward, right? You bring in a guy that is the caliber of quarterback like Cameron Ward. He's a guy that is going to elevate everybody around him. It was a talented group in 2023. I think that talent's going to shine a little bit more with better quarterback play. And you have a ton of young talent that is continuing to get developed within this program. An offensive skill position group that I think might get a little overlooked because of the national media and what that offense looked like in 2023. An offensive skill position that I am extremely excited about in 2024. Want to end it with this, and I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. Want to go over the leading rushers and the leading receivers, our projections heading into 2024. My projection for the leading receiver, I think this one is obvious, Xavier Restrepo. My leading rusher for the Hurricanes, Mark Fletcher. I think you have 2 guys that are kind of your guys in that wide receiver room and running back room, but you take a look at this list, and my note sheet chock full with names. A lot of guys could emerge for the Hurricanes. Would love to hear names that you guys are keeping an eye on in 2024 in the comment section. And as always, thank you to you guys for rocking with the boys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.